everything.
Let's bring on Jonathan Horowitz, our horse racing insider, sponsored by the Celtic Tavern. He's also the track announcer at Arapahoe Park to talk about what's going on this weekend.
And Jonathan is here
at
this
the
week.
Belmont. We've got a possible Triple Crown winner. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Very exciting times.
Racing insider and the racing insider for the Celtic Tavern and Delaney's. He didn't. I have to take him over there and explain to him about Delaney's.
Oh yeah, there's two parts of it.
Yeah. He said, "Oh, well, are they next door to each other?" No, they're connected. They're in Delaney's. You can off-track bet. And you can smoke cigars. You can actually be a horse player in there smoking a big cigar.
All right, so
having a glass of scotch.
Let's talk American Pharaoh. Do you like his post position? Do you like the odds? Do you like the small field? What's the likelihood of him grabbing the third leg?
I like everything that's set up for American Pharaoh. Post position 5, right in the middle of the field. He was on the way outside for the Derby, on the way inside for the Preakness. Now he's right in the middle. The small field really helps. There hasn't been a Triple Crown winner that's beaten a field of more than 8 horses. So in terms of the history of it, he won't have
I didn't know that.
I was surprised by that too. But when you get to the Belmont, you got a big field. American Pharaoh's certainly going to have the target on his back, but with a small field, less to worry about. And I like his running style. He's not a horse that needs to be in a certain position, and he doesn't need the pace to play out a certain way. He doesn't need the track to be in a certain condition either. He can make his own race, and so I think he's got as good a chance as any of the other horses who we've been waiting for the last 37 years to win the Triple Crown.
But you just said that. He's never run this distance that I know of.
Absolutely, and never run in New York either.
Well, how many of these horses have run that distance? Do we know?
None of them have run longer than 1.25 miles.
No,
so when you get that last quarter mile,
that's what I'm saying. That's the open question. Is none of them have ever gone that far. So you got to wonder, because there's a horse in this race that was coming on in the Kentucky Derby that we've kind of thrown off to the side, is making a comeback.
Yeah.
Frosted, it's been a while, but people kind of forget that Frosted was right there in the mix and was coming with American Pharaoh, if I remember. But Frosted ended up being second, right?
He finished fourth, but he was making up a lot of ground late.
Yeah, and I like
Which means he might be able to handle the longer track better.
If he's still coming, I'm just trying to give people a reason to look at something else. Verve, who was in the last race,
the runner-up in the last race,
is here. What do we know? Verve was an interesting kind of horse going into the last race because he hadn't raced against any of the really premier horses, if I remember correctly, in the Derby. And Materiality's making a comeback. Comeback's probably the wrong word, but it's coming back to the track. Materiality was in the Kentucky Derby, didn't race in the
so
Preakness.
If there's a horse that'll give American Pharaoh a run for its money, who will it be? Who could pull off the upset?
I think I've just mentioned the three in my mind, but I'm an amateur. He's a professional.
I think it would be Materiality, Frosted or Materiality, because they were both making up ground in the Derby after getting into trouble early on in the race. So you have 6 horses who ran in the Derby, American Pharaoh, and then 5 others who've waited the 5 weeks. You have 1 horse, Tale of Verve, who just ran in the Preakness but didn't run in the Derby, and then you have a horse Made from Lucky who didn't run in either. So the big question is, American Pharaoh, yeah, he's the best 3-year-old, he's the best horse. How much does he have left in the tank? And he's going to need it all to go 1.5 miles. So if I were picking the best horse, it would be American Pharaoh. If I were betting the race, because he's going to be less than even money, odds on, I would bet Materiality. Frosted's got a great shot, and maybe even the European horse Mubtahij, because he's stuck around for a few weeks.
From what I've read and from what I've seen, all the accounts say that American Pharaoh has had a great week of practice. Is there anything to make me think otherwise?
Not practice, workouts.
Workouts, practice.
It's all, look, if you had to script how you wanted it to go for American Pharaoh, this is exactly how you'd script it. He won the 2 races. He won them fairly comfortably. He's worked out well in between the races. This is as good as it could have gone, but is it enough? And it's so hard to tell. I think it's kind of like when Michael Phelps was going for 8 gold medals. Like, yeah, is he the best swimmer? Absolutely. Can he do something that's never been done before? It's never been done before, so it's hard to know the answer to that.
And I say this because I was there for Big Brown, and there's not been a better horse than Big Brown in the last 10 years, and everybody assumed Big Brown was going to win the Triple Crown, and I think the 2 earlier efforts got to him. Big Brown broke down on the last turn of the race and didn't win. I don't even know that he even finished the race. I don't think he even finished the race. He just hobbled in. So Bob Baffert said, I liked his comment about it. I thought he was being very honest. And Bob Baffert is a sports guy, and he said, you know, Tony La Russa said, you can have the best talent in the world, but you got to actually go out and play the game. Well, yeah, he's got to prove it, and he hasn't raced at this distance, and we know he can race on all sorts of off tracks and good tracks and everything else. Belmont Stakes is a totally different race than those other 2. I mean, Preakness has the short corners. Kentucky Derby is its own self, if you will. This is a strange track. And I noticed one other thing about it is they're going to limit the crowd, which is I've never seen them do that in Belmont. They want all comers, you know, and let's have 500,000 people here. But because of the facilities and problems they've had with restrooms and crowding and everything else, that is strange for a horse track to me to limit the crowd because they want the more bettors they can possibly get. Did you see those 2, the A, Baffert quote, and B, that what the Belmont's doing about this limiting the number of people there?
Oh, definitely. And Bob Baffert, this is his 4th time going for the Triple Crown. So he knows he may have had the best horse on the 3 previous occasions, but just having the best horse doesn't mean you'll win the race. And so you had 170,000 for the Derby, I think upwards of 120,000 for the Preakness. They're limiting it to 90,000 for the Belmont, which is still a big crowd. But I think you saw over 100,000 when Big Brown and Smarty Jones went for it. So it's going to be a higher commodity ticket. People will still be betting it off track, but it's a hotter ticket now because there's less spaces available.
Last thing, what's going on at Arapahoe Park?
At Arapahoe Park, we're going to be following the Belmont, so you can come out this weekend to see the live quarter horse championship races and then follow all the races from Belmont Park via simulcast.
Right. And also go over the Celtic and you can bet it off track there. I think it's going to be, I would just end by saying, as a guy who bets on these races, the only thing I bet on all year long is that I'm going to try and find the right trifecta. I feel like the Preakness trifecta paid pretty good, even with Pharaoh winning. It paid a good number. I think if you throw the horses in that we both talked about, Materiality and Frosted, and maybe think about Verve, that someone could make more money than betting 3 to 5 on Pharaoh to win.
Do you think, I've wondered about this, is it going to be a case where either American Pharaoh wins or he'll run like 6th or 7th? Or could it be that he maybe runs 2nd or 3rd, he's just not the best horse on the day? Is he either going to get it and there's going to be nothing left in the tank, or could he really be up there but just miss out by a little bit?
Well, based on what we saw in the Preakness, where they went right to the front and just wanted to control the race, I think he can be caught. He can be caught in the last quarter mile. That's what I'm thinking, that if he's going to get beat, it's because he's going to run out of gas.
Got it.
That he'll be still up around there, but I can picture him, visualize a couple of horses passing him at the end.
At the very end.
Yeah.
Jonathan, thanks for stopping by again.
Thank you. Always great to see you.
He is the Racing Insider, and he's here via the Celtic Tavern, where you should go and watch the Belmont this weekend. Celtic Tavern is just a couple of blocks west of Coors Field. You can bet daily on off-track horse racing and dog racing. You can watch live and bet daily and sip from a selection of more than 350 whiskeys. It's just, again, 2 blocks west of Coors Field on Blake Street, the Celtic Tavern.